Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're completely shattering the myth that leprosy is just some eradicated disease from the ancient past. We're going to dive right into the modern science fighting it today, and I am so thrilled to guide you through this because what we're learning is honestly fascinating.
Let's just jump right in with a really stark and honestly pretty surprising figure. Approximately 200,000 new cases of leprosy are still reported globally every single year. A lot of people think of this as an illness that was completely wiped out by modern medicine, like it's just a relic of history. But as this number clearly shows, that is absolutely not the case.
And the biological reality of the disease is vastly different from the myths you might have heard. Known clinically as Hansen's disease, it's a chronic bacterial infection caused by Mycobacterium lepra. Now, this bacteria multiplies incredibly slowly and has a super long incubation period. We're talking an average of 5 to 7 years before symptoms even show. It primarily affects the skin and peripheral nerves, and if left untreated, it can cause progressive, permanent disabilities. But here is the absolute most important takeaway. It is entirely curable with antibiotics. It is definitively not a death sentence.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the modern leprosy reality. Look at the COVID-19 detection gap, discuss breaking the transmission chain, explore restoring function through surgery, and finally, map out the push towards zero leprosy by 2030.
All right, part 1, the modern leprosy reality. Hansen's disease is still a neglected tropical disease that's endemic in more than 120 countries today. When we look at global hotspots, Brazil, India, and Indonesia are each reporting over 10,000 new cases annually. Actually, historically, India accounts for over half of all new cases worldwide. The disease spreads via respiratory droplets during really prolonged, close contact. Thankfully, the WHO provides free multidrug therapy, or MDT, which completely cures the infection and stops that transmission dead in its tracks. But here's the catch. Because of delayed diagnoses in these high-burden areas, over 10% of new global cases present with what's called grade 2 disability. That basically means visible deformities or severe nerve damage have already set in by the time the patient even sees a doctor.
Moving right along to part 2, the COVID-19 detection gap.
This brings us to a really massive recent hurdle. What's super alarming about the recent data is how the pandemic severely disrupted our progress in finding these cases early. In 2021, global case detection plummeted by a staggering 43%. During the lockdowns, public health resources were diverted, active case finding basically ground to a halt, and patients just couldn't access clinics.
Now, you might look at a 43% drop and think, hey, great news. But actually, scratch that. It wasn't a public health win at all. A decline in detection does not mean a decline in the actual disease. Instead, it created this dangerous backlog of hidden cases. And because leprosy damages nerves over time, any delay in diagnosis directly increases the rate of irreversible nerve damage, visible deformities, and it allows community transmission to just quietly continue entirely undetected.
Which leads us to part 3, breaking the transmission chain.
So how on earth do we fix this backlog and stop the spread? Global health strategies are aggressively scaling up a new game plan, the post-exposure prophylaxis protocol. Passive detection just isn't cutting it anymore. The very moment a new index case is diagnosed, health workers jump into action to trace their contacts. And we aren't just talking about people in the same house. We're tracing neighborhood and social contacts too, sometimes screening up to 25 or 50 surrounding houses. Once found, these contacts are given a single preventative dose of the antibiotic rifampicin, known as SDR-PEEP. By treating the entire social network around a patient, we actively break the transmission chain before the bacteria can even take hold. It's a total game changer.
Okay, part 4, restoring function through surgery.
We also have to face the reality of the post-elimination era. What about the folks who are already suffering from severe neuropathy and physical deformities because their treatment was delayed? Well, this is where specialized surgical management is literally changing lives. Surgeons are performing nerve decompressions to relieve chronic pain and nerve abscesses that regular medicine just can't fix. They're using reconstructive surgery with grafts and flaps to heal these chronic, stubborn ulcers. And they use tendon transfers to correct paralytic contractures like a claw hand to actually restore motor function. By giving patients back the use of their hands and feet, these surgeries go a massively long way in eliminating the visible markers that drive so much social stigma.
And the data backing these procedures up is just incredibly promising. To put it in perspective, when these surgeries are done early, before irreversible fibrosis sets in, the outcomes are excellent.
Studies showed that nerve decompression maintains or improves function in over 80% of cases. Meanwhile, tendon transfers from motor weakness report a massive 70 to 90% functional recovery rate. I mean, that is literally the difference between a lifetime of dependency and getting your physical independence back.
But hey, surgery's really only half the battle, right? It has to be followed by a rigorous 3-phase physical rehab process for long-term success. First up is 2 to 3 weeks of immobilization using splints and casts to protect those newly transferred tendons and let wounds heal. Then comes mobilization, using active and passive exercises so the joints don't get stiff. Finally, the strengthening phase uses resisted exercises to actually retrain those transferred tendons. It takes a ton of hard work from both the patient and the care team, but it ensures patients fully regain their mobility.
And that brings us to part 5, towards Zero Leprosy 2030.
So, how do we pull all of this together? The medical cures, the preventive antibiotics, and the surgical advancements into one global victory. The WHO and national eradication programs have mapped out a really aggressive strategic timeline. The initial push is focused on accelerated active case finding and delivering quality services to finally clear out that pandemic backlog. As we move into 2025, the goal is to sustain those gains and heavily target active detection in hard-to-reach areas. And all of this is pointing toward the ultimate 2030 target, zero leprosy, which is officially defined as a total interruption of transmission.
By leaning on these strategic pillars, the global health community is heavily prioritizing accelerated detection, high-quality post-exposure prophylaxis, and robust digital surveillance systems. The overarching vision here is literal zeros across the board. Zero infection, zero disease, and zero new disability. And honestly, with the medical and strategic tools we have in our hands today, this vision is completely attainable. Ultimately, though, there is one final, absolutely critical barrier left. We have the multidrug therapy to cure the bacteria. We have the surgical techniques and physical therapy to restore the body. We even have the aggressive 2030 strategy to trace and break the transmission chain. But will we finally end the stigma? The psychological and social burden of this ancient disease still forces patients into isolation and fear, even today. So with all our incredible medical advancements, the real question is, are we, as a society, finally ready to eradicate the ancient stigma once and for all? That's what you should take away from this explainer today. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep seeking to understand the world around you.